Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and last day of the AUSA Conference, we have seen and heard so many things in the defense of our nation, and it's just and around the world, for that matter. And we're here at another great company, D-Fend Solutions. We're here with Jeffrey Starr, Chief Marketing Officer. Jeffrey, how are you doing?
Good, great. AUSA is going fabulous. Lots of interest, lots of traffic, lots of excitement.
First time here?
No, we've been here a couple years in a row, but I think this year has really been a culmination. Lots of crowds, lots of interest. People are seeking us out. We're dealing with a very acute problem, as you know, the threat of dangerous drones, which is only increasing. And while there are a lot of interesting and very well-respected, tried and true legacy solutions out there, the threat is emerging and changing and evolving. So we see a real hunger, a real thirst for kind of a new generation, new approach to dealing with this problem.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And, you know, what we've found throughout this week and this show is the implementation of drones and the building of new drones and ground drones and all this kind of stuff. And so for a company such as yours to be working on the problem of how to get rid of drones is pretty remarkable.
You know, definitely. And as I was saying earlier, there's a kind of strong demand for a different approach. And a lot of the best way to describe who we are and what we do is counterintuitively to describe what we're not. Okay, so and it's very important in this discussion to always split between what I would call the detection side and the mitigation side, because those are two distinct parts of what we call the life cycle of a dangerous drone incident. So on the detection side, again, there are some great technologies all around the floor here. For example, radar. Radar's tried and true. It does a great job, but it has a problem that might generate false positives. Okay, you have acoustic solutions, but drones are getting quieter and the battlefield is getting noisier. And then you have optical solutions, camera-based, but that requires a clear line of sight. And in urban environments and mountainous terrains, that kind of falls short a bit. But even more importantly, where the need is acute and where the differences are more dramatic is on the mitigation side. And mitigation has traditionally been handled effectively in many cases. I'm oversimplifying a bit, but basically two broad buckets of technologies or solutions. One is anything kinetic. Kinetic is physical, shooting. So shooting down the drone, it might be with a laser, a magnetic field, a bullet, artillery, drone killing drone, nets, you name it. But there you always have the potential associated risk of collateral damage, because if you miss the drone, the projectile is still going to come down somewhere, or even if you hit the drone, the shrapnel, the debris will still come down and potentially be a threat to the forces or innocent civilians. And then you had electronic warfare side, like jamming, which disrupts the communication between the remote control and the drone, but the problem is it disrupts everything else in the area as well in terms of communications and operations. So we're here with kind of a new generation category that we're the leader, we're pioneering, which is cyber, RF cyber. So we basically have a deep understanding of the communication attributes and protocols of the drone. A rogue or hostile drone enters the protected area, and we detect it based, we're totally passive at that point. We detect it, we set off an alert. We identify the drone, its attributes, its make, its model, its characteristics. We also distinguish whether it's a friendly authorized drone or a dangerous drone. And then ultimately, we're tracking not only the drone but the pilot, the takeoff location. But ultimately, there's a point at which you decide, do you want to mitigate? And our mitigation is different. We're not jamming, we're not shooting, we're taking over. We basically present the operator with a choice to either fend off the drone, send it back where it came from, or we actually take over the drone, land it safely, gently, surgically, precisely in a pre-designated safe zone. And you can, if you're military, you capture the drone, you capture the intelligence, but continuity prevails. We're not disrupting anything, we're not causing collateral damage, less risk of friendly fire, and it's a completely different approach to counter-drone detection and mitigation. Again, we complement the other technologies. We don't see them as competition, part of the new emerging layered defense concept.
That sounds like pretty futuristic stuff there, Jeffrey.
Sure, definitely, yeah. No, it's definitely, that's one of the main reasons we're here. It's a new paradigm, it's a different approach, so a lot of market education is required.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, just if a person like myself could understand the kind of logistics of that, I mean, it makes so much sense. So once you take the drone over, then you can do whatever you want to with it.
Sure, and of course, here at AUSA, we're talking mostly about the military use case, in which case, yeah, you can capture the drone, capture the intelligence. Obviously, we're also used by law enforcement, by Homeland Security, borders, prisons, critical infrastructure. And of course, in every country, market, and in every use case and industry, you may have different procedures, rules, regulations, laws, and things like that in terms of how this plays out, what the rules of engagement are. But you're right, in general, you have a lot more, you have what I would call a controlled outcome. And really continuity prevails, things aren't disrupted, and the focus is really on safety as well as security.
Boy, I can think of one country right now in particular that could really use that kind of technology. Where is this deployed currently?
We're deployed in over 27 countries around the world, including North America, Europe, Asia, and again within a lot of those country markets in different segments: military, Homeland Security, law enforcement. As I mentioned earlier, the critical infrastructure, borders, and prisons. And we're used again in by really top-tier agencies in defense, Homeland Security, and military.
So, Jeffrey, you talked about the identification, detection, and mitigation in every one of those steps. What kind of timeline are we talking about that from detection to mitigation? What's the timeline?
Oh, sure. We're talking within minutes. And it, might vary depending on the drone and depending on the situation. But obviously, that's something that has to happen very quick. And just to elaborate, we have sort of two levels. There's a detection zone, which you define, and then within that is the mitigation zone. But once the decision made to mitigate, that happens in minutes.
That's pretty incredible. That's very incredible. Where can people find out more information about D-Fend?
They can go to our website, dfendsolutions.com. They can send an email to info@dfendsolutions.com. They can fill out a contact us form on the website, and we'll be right back in touch.
These are great stories to hear because we're on a lot of radio stations around the country, but we're also on an Armed Forces Radio Network. And so those men and women who are defending us that hear about these kinds of innovations, that has to make them feel great.
Sure, definitely. And that's, we have a couple of veterans obviously working for us. We're very proud of the fact that we have employed a lot of veterans. And I was just talking to them today here at the show, and that's kind of a lot of their passion in terms of why they're working for us, is we're protecting the forces, we're protecting the troops, we're also protecting civilians, we're protecting assets, we're protecting people against a new, emerging, evolving, dangerous threat. And what we're doing is we're protecting them all in a very safe way. We're making sure that the cure, sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease in some cases, and we're going out of our way. And there actually have been incidents in the news where the interception actually caused injuries, not the drone itself. And that's what we're focused on, doing things in a more surgical, precise, safe manner with controlled outcomes.
Kind of like sometimes like a high-speed police chase.
It's funny. I've thought about trying to do something with that analogy. When you think of someone who's doing some kind of violation, but if it's a violent pullover, that can be worse than the violation. And in many cases, and even though here we're talking about the military use case, there are a lot of civilian use cases. And sometimes, I know what you think in the headlines is the most nefarious case of a terrorist doing something terrible with a drone, but also every day you have things like kids playing with drones in near airports or doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and that even more so you need a very gentle surgical approach to mitigating it, and that's kind of what we're all about in terms of our mission. And I just even though we're a counter drone company, we're extremely pro drone. We want to enable a flourishing drone society.
That's your politician side of you, Jeffrey.
No, but that's people think, oh, you just want to get, no, on the contrary, we want to the very small minority of bad actors, if we can confront that problem, then the positive uses of drone will flourish even more. And that
makes a lot of sense. Jeffrey, thank you so much, man. Great talking to you.
Good.
What a great product, man. That's so good. We'll be right back here in the National Defense.